Good morning, everyone. This is Professor Hill. It's a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College. This is the online fall 2019 version of the class. Today is Wednesday, September the 4th. We're coming back after a long weekend, holiday weekend, and we're trying to focus in on our book, Doing Ethics, which I'm assuming we've all got now, and we're reading chapter 1. The last video I made said, look, we're in chapter 1. Wanted to start off with some key definitions, ethics and morality. We saw that ethics is the philosophical study of morality, and morality is our beliefs about good and bad, right and wrong. Well, the reason we made that distinction about a philosophical study of morality is that today we're going to break down 4 different types of ethics, and you're going to see the very, very first one, descriptive ethics, is actually the scientific study of morality. So we're going to compare that with the general definition, because this is one of the 4 kind of subgroups of ethics that Louis Vaughn breaks down in his book, Doing Ethics. And he says, look, descriptive ethics, the first one is just literally what it sounds like, which is describing what people believe in groups. It might be a personal thing for you, describing your own personal ethics, but it's really social scientists getting data. They're making phone calls, they're doing surveys. Think of the white, lab coats, guys with their clipboards out there. And one modern good example is the one that I posted in the modules, which is the Pew Charitable Trust. They did a survey of 40,000 people in 40 different countries around 8 key moral issues. And they weren't trying to judge anybody. They were just trying to describe what people believe about these issues in these different countries. And one of the nice things about it is it demonstrates to us, it shows us that there are wide differences from country to country, society to society, about moral issues. The fact of the matter is that there's great consensus worldwide on things like, one of the issues they talk about is adultery. Cheating on your spouse. Is this morally, and the language of the survey was, is it morally acceptable, morally unacceptable, or not a moral issue? And most people found it to be morally unacceptable, that it was wrong. And but even with that, you think would be a gimme. Even with that, there are differences from country to country and place to place. By God, France is the one country on the planet they couldn't muster 50% of the people to say that cheating on your spouse, that adultery was wrong, that it was morally unacceptable. Now, there's all kinds of reasons why that. People might want to compare and contrast that with other countries where it's very high. You want to look at different factors that influence people's beliefs. But that's not what the descriptive ethics people are doing. They're just saying, hey, we're just here to describe what we see, write it down so we have some data about what people believe. Now, what they believe, that core set of beliefs, that's when you get into normative ethics. Normative ethics is about the study of the principle, the rules. These are the actual structures or norms, the ethics that people believe. And so it's essentially what the descriptive ethics people are describing, which is the norms or standards of a people. Now, again, they vary from place to place, society to society, but those norms or standards, how the judgment, the things we base our judgments upon when we're grappling with moral issues, those are the norms. And again, when you say, like, for example, in a country or a state, that there's a standard or norm, it doesn't mean that there's, complete agreement, consensus. It's certainly not unanimous. There might even be a very large minority that disagrees with the norm or standard. But they're going to be a minority. Whatever the norm is, that's the standard, and that's what the descriptive people are trying to get at. They change, given any one country or state, these things change over time. So we can see a standard or a norm switch. But that's what normative ethics is, that study the principles, those rules, the theories. That's the kind of the core of it. Now, he also talks about meta-ethics, which is a little different because meta-ethics is more of a process. It's stepping back. Meta means above, right? So it's kind of stepping back and looking at the logical structure. It's like saying, well, now hold on a minute. Let's step back and look at these things and evaluate them. And sometimes when people go through this process, it's to reflect on it and sometimes change their beliefs. Other times they don't change their beliefs. They say, no, look, I've stepped back, I've evaluated it, I've gone through a process of looking at the foundation and structure, and I'm happy. We're on the right track. So it's not necessarily the change, it's the stepping back, it's the getting over and looking down and reflecting on it. That's metaethics. The last thing is applied ethics, the last of the four that he kind of identifies these subgroups. And applied ethics has to do with kind of the application to particular professional situations. And he mentions explicitly law and medicine. And it's because different professions, particularly those licensed by the state, are going to have a tradition of best practice. When I'm doing this, like I'm a doctor and I'm practicing medicine, there's going to be a standard for what's the best way to do these things. There's going to be a code of ethics. It's separate than laws, right? And these govern and regulate. People within the profession are regulating themselves and holding themselves to a standard. And if you violate those standards, you could be given a warning, you could be given a censure, you could be suspended temporarily, you could even have your license revoked. That's the power of an ethics committee within a profession to regulate who's licensed and under what conditions. And so lots of professions will have literally a code of ethics that governs professionals in the field in their practice. And it's limited that way, but it's the application of ethics to the practice of this profession. So those are the four things he's talking about: descriptive ethics, normative ethics, meta ethics, and finally the last one, applied ethics. He spent some time talking about those four key concepts in chapter 1. You want to read chapter 1, you want to walk through those. If you've got questions about them, let me know. But I want you thinking about these concepts from the chapter as we start turning our attention to the first essay and making sure that we don't just respond to the question. We write a thoughtful, intentional, considered essay incorporating the concepts, the terms, what we've learned from chapter 1. So keep reading, start writing, at least thinking about it. Take care.